Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am just Mike. You are watching and you are listening to episode number 42 of The Rock Out Wild Show, where it's not just a show, it is a way of life. Now, if you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below this very video. You can also like or dislike this episode and share episode 42 of the Rock Out Wild Show to everyone that you know, from your family to your friends to your co-workers to your acquaintances. Tell everyone about the Rock Out Wild Show, where I talk about a variety of things such as film, television, music, sports, wrestling, you name it, I cover it here. We do, I should say I do, and it's someone called On This Day, where I take most of those topics and I go over what happened in today in history. And today is October the 15th, so I'm going to look at all those things such as film, movies, wrestling, sports, music for October the 15th. Now, as you see from the title of this very episode, I am going to go full therapy session again for episode 42. I found a guide that was on a website that was made about a couple of months or so ago, so it is very recent. So I like to keep things fresh when it comes to the variety of things that I talk about here. And it's on a guide. Now, I found a website called helpguide.org, and they go over a step process of emotional and psychological trauma and how to go through all that sorts of stuff. So I will be covering that in the main event. Now, to kick off episode 42 of the Rock Out Wild Show, I am going to react to an old movie review of mine from 2014, a movie called Exodus, Gods and Kings. So what I'm going to do is turn on the webcam and show my face to every single one watching at home or wherever they are right now. I am going to obviously put on the headphones and react to this little movie review. Before I do, let's present, share screen, make sure the audio is on, and go to the video itself. All right, let's go full screen here, and let's react to my old movie review for Exodus, Gods and Kings. In 3, 2, 1, action.
If there's one thing that this movie got right, is that Aaron Paul was cast as a supporting cast member playing Joshua instead of Moses, because he can't even carry his own freaking movie, for crying out loud. Thank God. Or in this case, thank Moses.
Oh, for God's sake. Me back then about Aaron Paul is absolutely outstanding. And I haven't even watched Breaking Bad yet. Now, looking back at it, obviously, I think Aaron Paul is a great actor. He was great in Breaking Bad. I mean, I don't call him the real star for nothing. Let's move on.
Hey, what is...
One more thing. I love that music. I don't know why I didn't use that more often.
What's up, all movie fans in the Movieverse? Welcome to the Mike McRock movie review show. And right now I'm going to review Exodus, Gods and Kings. And basically what this movie is about is the story of Moses, where he has to go through the 10 plagues and the Red Sea and everything else in between, etc., etc. If you follow the Bible story, then you will know the story of Moses. Now, is this the most accurate story of Moses? Maybe not. But this is an interesting interpretation of the story of Moses. And in this movie, you have Christian Bale starring in the leading role, and I thought Christian Bale was really good as Moses, as the guy with the beard. It's all in the beard. He was really great in this movie. You also have
You mean to tell me Batman was Moses? I completely forgot about that.
Joel Edgerton, who
Joel
played
Edgerton.
his nemesis Ramses, who I thought was not half bad in the movie. But this movie does come with this controversy with its casting choices. But I'm
Sure.
not going to review this movie as that. I'm going to review this movie as its final piece, as a whole. And I thought the casting choices were, you know what? It's just one of those situations where I have to accept the casting choices in this movie. It is what it is. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. And what I think about the acting overall, it was hit and miss. I thought, like I said, Christian Bale was really good as Moses. I thought Joel Edgerton as Ramses was okay. You also had, like I said in my intro, Aaron Paul as Joshua. Thank God he was a supporting cast member. Probably miscast somewhat. But you also had someone like John Turturro in this movie.
John Turturro, huh?
This guy was hilarious, and the funny thing was, when he was in this movie, the entire movie just felt like a parody. Every time I saw John Turturro in that ancient Egyptian suit with the face, I thought I was watching a comedy. I was just holding in the laughter every time I saw this guy.
You know, I can't remember who John Turturro is. I'd have to look him up again.
As his character, as he is. And also had Sigourney Weaver for some reason.
Sigourney Weaver?
She wasn't in it much at all. There was just no point of Sigourney Weaver to be in this movie. She only had like a couple of lines. 5 or 6 lines, that was it. Move over, get the heck out of the way, because this is the Christian Bale movie.
Darn right.
And of course, you can't forget about Ben Kingsley, and I thought Ben Kingsley in this movie was pretty good for the scenes he was in this movie.
Ben Kingsley.
And overall, this was a visually great movie. There were some great visuals in this movie, from the 10 Plagues to the Red Sea. He also had all the extras in this movie. I could tell there was a lot of work being put into this movie. So I think Ridley Scott done a good job when it came to the visual aspect in this movie. But just
one of those things that I keep forgetting about this movie, I completely forgot that Ridley Scott directed this. Like, I almost had no idea. But I'll keep it going.
It's because the visuals were so great in this movie. Everything else, not so much. I felt like that this movie was really, really hard to sit through. This was a 2.5 hour long movie that probably should have been 30 minutes cut. And I understand originally that this movie was 4 hours long.
Oh my
and
God.
that they had to cut a lot of things in this movie. So I can
4
accept
hours?
that this...
What is this? The precursor to the Snyder Cut? Like, what? 4 hours? Oh my God.
That they had to do a lot of cutting in this movie, but still, this felt like just way too long. It was really hard to sit through. I found myself really phasing in and out in the in-between parts. I thought that the opening scene and the end scenes were really good. Just everything else in between just kind of really fell flat overall. I would have liked to see a lot more relationship stories go on between Moses and his real brothers, as well as the dialogues back and forth and the chemistry. I didn't feel like there was enough chemistry between Joel Edgerton and Christian Bale in this movie. If there were more scenes in this movie with the two of them, I probably would be a lot more invested in their story when they got to the end. So overall, I was kind of let down in this movie. It was entertaining somewhat, so I will give this movie a pass and say that Exodus Gods and Kings delivered 60 points out of 100.
Okay, that's fair.
And if you saw this movie, what did you think about it? Feel free to comment on the comment section below and give me your thoughts about Exodus, Gods and Kings. And also you can hit that subscribe button as well to get McRocked.
Yeah, so that was my movie review reaction to my own movie review back in late 2014 for Exodus Gods of Kings, starring Christian Bale, and me poking fun at Aaron Paul back then. It's just amazing to me because right now I consider him a great actor. It's amazing how 11 years makes a big difference. It also depends on what Aaron Paul is in, too. Sure, if I do go back and watch Exodus, Gods and Kings or Need for Speed, I'll probably still say the same thing, that Aaron Paul does suck in these movies. It's just that I didn't have that Breaking Bad thing going on back then. So, and also, a movie like Exodus, Gods and Kings should have visuals that pop on screen, and I'm so glad that I praised the visuals in this movie as well. I think 60 points is a fair rating looking back at it. So that's my retrospective take on Exodus, Gods and Kings. Would I go back and watch this again? No, not really. This movie is, what, 2.5 hours long, and it's a movie I'm not really fully invested in like I am with something like an Endgame or an Infinity War, which is roughly around the same length as Exodus, Gods and Kings. So I have no desire to watch Exodus, Gods and Kings ever again. That was a one and done, and let's move on. Let's talk about some of the things that happened on this day in the world of hopefully sports. If I get to it, I will talk about wrestling. I will talk about film and television. And to kick off this installment of On This Day for October 15th, let's go over some music, shall we? So what happened on August? No, we're in October. Write that one down. So what happened on October 15th in the years past? Well, here's a picture of Little Richard right there, who is the real king of rock and roll, not named Elvis Presley, by the way. So, October 15th, in 1956, Little Richard recorded Good Golly Miss Molly at New Orleans J&M Studio. Released in January 1958 on Specially and featured on Richard's sophomore album, Here's Little Richard. The song was written by John Marcelaco and producer Robert Bumps Blackwell. With the high energy tune, while the high energy tune was initially recorded by Richard, Blackwell also gave the song to a group called The Valiants, who released the track in 1957. With his over-the-top vocals and charismatic performance, however, Richard made the song rock and roll standard. It would later be covered by such artists such as Jerry Lee Lewis, Creedence Clearwater Revival, and Mitchell Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, among others. In 1955, Buddy Holly had his big break opening for Elvis Presley at the Cotton Club's Big D Jamboree in Lubbock, Texas. The Nashville-based talent scout Eddie Crandall was in the audience and was blown away by the artist. After the show, he invited Holly to record some demos for Decca Records. In 1960, the Beatles, minus Pete Best and Rory Storm's Hurricanes, which included drummer Ringo Starr, entered a Hamburg recording studio to cut a version of the Gershwin classic Summertime. The song, which was cut onto 78 RPM single, marked the first session attended by John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. In 2006, the Sugababes were named the most successful UK all-female act of the 21st century, beating out the likes of Madonna and Britney Spears with 16 hits. That's amazing, by the way. 4 years earlier, they busted records for becoming the youngest female group to top the UK pop chart with Freak Like Me. In 1988, Bon Jovi began a 4-week run at the top of the Billboard 200 with New Jersey. Their fourth studio album also produced 5 top 10 singles, breaking the records for most top 10 hits from a single glam metal album. And in 1977, Debbie Boone began a record-breaking 10-week run at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 with You Light Up My Life. At the time, it marked the longest day at the top of the pop chart, breaking a record previously held by Guy Mitchell's 1956 hit, Singing the Blues. Here are some birthdays that happened for October the 15th in years past. We got Shane Ward, born in 1984. Genuine was born on this day in 1975. From the Jackson 5, Tito Jackson was born on this day in 1953. In 1946, Richard Carpenter was born from the Carpenters. Born in 1942 was Don Stevenson from Moby Grape. And Paul Tanner from Glenn Miller Orchestra, Electro-Theremin pioneer, was born on this day in 1917. And those are all the things that happened in the world of music for October the 15th. Now let's take a look at some of the things that happened on this day in the world of film and television. In 1938, Robert E. Sherwood's stage drama Abe Lincoln in Illinois, starring Raymond Massey, opens at the Plymouth Theater in New York City, and it runs for 472 performances. In 1940, The Great Dictator, a satire social commentary film by and starring Charlie Chaplin, was released. I Love Lucy. In 1951, I Love Lucy, starring Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, debuts on CBS television. In 1953, John Patrick's play, Tea House of the August Moon, premieres in New York. In 1953, KOIN TV Channel 6 in Portland, Oregon, begins broadcasting. Also in 1953, WJNL, now WFAT TV Channel 19 in Johnstown, PA, begins. In 1954, KL TV Channel 7 in Tyler, Longview, Texas, begins broadcasting. In 1955, country music radio show Grand Ole Opry is first broadcast on television in a live hour-long show by ABC. In 1959, KNDO TV Channel 23 in Yakima, Washington begins broadcasting. In 1959, TV series The Untouchables, starring Robert Stack, premieres in the U.S. In 1962, WLOX TV Channel 13 in Bugsley Gulfport, MS, begins broadcasting. In 1965, WEMT, now WVII TV Channel 7 in Bangor, ME, begins broadcasting. In 1971, world's first arcade video game, Computer Space, developed by Sinji, first demonstrated at the MOA show in the US. I probably did not pronounce that correctly. In 1974, Asylum Records released The Heart of Saturday Night, the second studio album by American singer-songwriter Tom Waits, who he's a legend in my book. A Dose of Rock and Roll. In 1976, Ringo Starr released his single, A Dose of Rock and Roll, peaks at number 26 in the US and fails to chart in the UK. In 1989, American radio and television evangelist Billy Graham is given the 1,900th star on Hollywood Boulevard, the first clergyman to be granted a star. No, not superstar Billy Graham. In 1993, late night talk show The Chevy Chase Show final episode airs on Fox TV, and it's canceled after 6 weeks, and the less talk about Chevy Chase, the better. In the year 2000, Larry David's comedy show Curb Your Enthusiasm debuts on HBO. In 2007, Fox Business Network, American Financial Cable Network, is launched. In 2010, The Clock, the 24-hour movie montage created by Christian Marclay, premieres at White Cube Art Gallery in London. In 2013, Dove Cameron released the single Better in Stereo. In 2017, 60 Minutes and the Washington Post published a story detailing how Congress passed a bill sponsored by Tom Marino that hindered the fight against the opioid crisis. In 2017, actress Alicia Milano tweeted, "If you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write Me Too." Prompts floods of replies across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I can only imagine, and I'm not touching that Me Too nonsense with a 10-foot pole. And those are all the things in events that happened in the world of film and television for October the 15th. Now let's take a look at some of the things that happened on this day in the world of professional wrestling, brother. As you see here is a picture of Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, The Shield. That's going way back. But we're going back even further. In 1973, on October the 15th, Pedro Morales retains the WWF World Heavyweight title in a Texas death match against Stan Stasiak at a house show in Madison Square Garden in New York City. In 1994, Cactus Jack and Mikey Whipwreck retains the ECW Tag Team titles, and Shane Douglas retains the ECW World Heavyweight title at an ECW house show at the Harrisburg Military Post in Pennsylvania. In 2001, on the Go Home edition of Raw from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, for the No Mercy pay-per-view, William Regal was named as the new WCW commissioner, as Stone Cold Steve Austin encouraged Ron Van Dam to challenge The Rock for the WCW Championship in an attempt to remove RVD from the No Mercy Triple Threat main event against Kurt Angle and Austin himself. What? In the main event, Austin and Booker T faced Kurt Angle and The Undertaker. What? Okay, I'll stop right now. In 2002, Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle defeated Chavo and Eddie Guerrero in the main event of a SmackDown taping from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. In 2004, Samoa Joe retains the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title against Rocky Romero at ROH Gold in Dayton. Also, Ace Steel, CM Punk, and Jimmy Jacobs faced Alex Shelley, Austin Aries, and Jack Evans in the 6-person tag team main event. In 2005, at Ring of Honor Buffalo Stampede, Bryan Danielson successfully defended the ROH World title against Steve Corino in the main event. Also, Nigel McGuinness defeated ROH Pure Wrestling title against Samoa Joe and Abyss. Alex Shelley and Jimmy Ray faced Austin Aries, Jack Evans, and Roderick Strong in a no disqualification 6-man tag team match. In 2006, at the WWE Raw taping in Los Angeles, California, on a show which aired the following night, Randy Orton and Edge opened up the show by impersonating their Cyber Sunday opponents, DX. Triple H faced Orton in the show's main event. Also, Jeff Hardy defended the Intercontinental title against Chris Masters, Shelton Benjamin, and Super Crazy. In 2007, Kurt Angle defeated Sting for the TNA World Heavyweight title, and Christian Cage defeated Samoa Joe at a TNA taping in Orlando. In 2011, the first ever WWE Raw taping from Mexico City took place ahead of the upcoming Vengeance pay-per-view. John Cena and Jim Ross teamed up against Michael Cole and WWE champion Alberto Del Dipshit. Also, CM Punk with Triple H in his corner faced The Miz. Christian, Cody Rhodes, and Mark Henry took on John Morrison, Randy Orton, and Sheamus. In 2012, on WWE Raw from Nashville, after weeks of speculation, CM Punk's opponent for the WWE Championship at the upcoming Hell in a Cell pay-per-view was confirmed as the undefeated Ryback. Also, Eve Torres defended the WWE Divas Championship against Layla, and Kofi Kingston faced The Miz. In 2018, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins put aside their frustrations on Raw from Philadelphia to team up with Roman Reigns and reformed the Shields to take out Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, and Dolph Ziggler. Also, Ronda Rousey had harsh words for the Bella Twins, when she never had harsh words, I'm just saying. And Natalya faced Ruby Riott. Here are some notable wrestling birthdays in the world of professional wrestling. We got King Noble, born on this day in 1940. Tony Salazar, born on this day in 1949. Justin Credible was born in 1973. Tashiki Morishima, born in 1978. Jennifer Thomas, born in 1973. We have some notable wrestling deaths here. We got Joey Maggs in 2006, El Brazo in 2013, and Karsten Beck in 2020. Those are all the events that happened on this day in the world of professional wrestling. Now let's take a look at some of the things, well, pretty much everything that happened in sports for October the 15th. In 1884, Charles Oldhouse Redborn pitches his 60th win of season for MLB Province Grays in an 8-0 win over Quackers, with a win over Quackers at Philadelphia. In 1899, MLB Cleveland Spiders closed out the season, losing both ends of a doubleheader 16-1 and 19-3 to the Cincinnati Reds on the road. Spiders end the year with a record of 20-134, still the standard for fewest wins. In 1912, Red Sox turn speakers make only World Series unassisted double play from the outfield. In 1917, Baseball World Series, Chicago White Sox beat New York Giants 4-2 and Brush Stadium to clinch series 4-2 for the second WWF World Series triumph. In 1923, Baseball World Series, New York Yankees beat New York Giants 6-4 in Game 6 at the Polo Grounds for a 4-2 series win, Yankees' first World Series victory. In 1925, Baseball World Series, Pittsburgh Pirates beating visiting Washington Senators 9-7 in Game 7 at Forbes Field for a 4-3 series victory. Pirates' first team to recover from 3-1 deficit in a 7-game series. In 1928, Walter Johnson signs a 3-year contract to manage the Senators. In 1933, Philadelphia Eagles play first NFL game and they lose to the New York Giants 56-0. In 1935, NHL St. Louis Eagles fold. In 1937, rather than accept any trade offers, the Yanks released Tony Lazzeri. In 1945, baseball attendance hits a record of 10.28 million. Tigers 1.28 is highest. In 1946, Baseball World Series, St. Louis Cardinals beat Boston Red Sox 4-3 at Sportsman Park to clinch series 4-3, Cards 6 championship. In 1957, Giants trade Minneapolis franchise to Red Sox for SF Seals franchise only, not the players. In 1961, LPGA Championship of Women's Golf, Stardust, Mickey Wright convictionally wins her third LPGA title by 9 strokes from Louis Suggs. In 1964, American Al Oitter wins his third of 4 consecutive Olympic men's discus titles at the Tokyo Olympics, beats Czech Ludwig Danik by 0.08 meters. In 1964, American Don Schollander swims a world record of 4:12.2 to win 400 meters freestyle gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics, second of Schollander's 4 gold medals at the Games. Also in 64, American sprinter Bob Hayes equaled the world record of 10 seconds to beat Cuba's Enrique Figueroa by 0.2 seconds and wins the men's 100-meter gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. Also in 64, Australian swimmer Ian O'Brien sets world record of 2 27.8 to beat Soviet Gregory Prokopino by 0.4 seconds, and wins men's 200-meter breaststroke gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. Also in 64, Baseball World Series, St. Louis Cardinals win 7th title, beats New York Yankees 7-5 at Busch Stadium to clinch series 4-3. MVP St. Louis pitcher Bob Gibson. In 1964, Craig Breedlove sets auto-speed record of 846.97 kilometers per hour. In 1964, oh my God, there's a lot of 64s. Soviet rower. Let's try to pronounce this. In 1964, Soviet rower Vyacheslav Ivanov wins his third consecutive Olympic men's singles sculls gold medal at the Tokyo Games. Also, reigning world and European champion. Did I get it right? I'm just making sure. Did I get it right? Tell me if I got that name right. Anyway, let's continue. Also in 1964, U.S. women's 4x100 meter freestyle relay from a team of Sharon Stewart, Donna Di Verona, Lillian Watson, and Kathy Ellis wins world record 4:03.8 to beat Australia by 3.1 seconds and wins the gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. In 1968, Al Oiter of the U.S. wins the men's discus in an Olympic record of 64.78 meters at the Mexico City Games. Oyster's unprecedented fourth consecutive Olympic discus title. In 1968, American sprinter Wyoma Tyrus wins her second consecutive Olympic 100-meter title with a world record of 11.8 seconds, beating teammate Barbara Farrell by 0.08 seconds for the gold medal at the Mexico City Games. And don't mind the sneezing outside my door. In 1968, Australian Ralph Dubal runs a world record of 1:44.40 to beat Kenyon Wilson Krupgut and wins the men's 800-meter at the Mexico City Olympics. Also in 1968, British athlete David Hemersey sets a world record of 48.12 seconds to beat Gerhard Hennig of West Germany and takes a gold medal in the men's 400-meter hurdles at the Mexico City Olympics. And I probably butchered that name to Kingdom Come. Also in 1968, MLB American League expansion draft, Kansas City Royals pick Baltimore Orioles pitcher Roger Nelson, and Seattle Pilots pick California Angels infielder Don Michner. First, as they choose 30 players each. In 1969, Baltimore's Earl Weaver becomes first manager since 1935 to be ejected World Series games as his Orioles slump to a 2-1 game for defeat to New York Mets at Shea Stadium. In 1969, again, Madison Square Garden TV network begins. Rangers versus North Stars. In 1970, Baseball World Series, Baltimore Orioles beat Cincinnati Reds 9-3 at Memorial Stadium to claim series 4-1. MVP, Orioles 3B, Brooks Robinson, third baseman. In 1972, 17-year-old American tennis prodigy Chris Evert wins inaugural WTA Tour Championship at Boca Raton, Florida, beats Australian Kerry Melville Reid 7-5, 6-4. Everett not eligible for prize money. In 1972, 61st Davis Cup, USA beats Romania in Bucharest 3-2. Also in 72, Omni in Atlanta opens. Hawks beats New York Knicks 109-101. In 1974, NHL Washington Capitals earned first franchise tie, playing LA Kings to a 1-1 draw. In 1979, also, New York Knicks retires second number 10, Walt Frazier. In 1981, MLB American League Championship, New York Yankees beat Oakland Athletics 3-0. In 1983, Nelson Piquet of Brazil finishes third in the season-ending South African Grand Prix at Calema to clinch his second Formula One World Drivers' Championship, wins by 2 points from Alain Prost. Alain Prost, I think that's how you pronounce it. Also in 1983, NHL Chicago Blackhawks and Toronto Maple Leafs combined for fastest 5 goals, 84 seconds in a 10-8 Leaf win in Toronto. In 1986, longest postseason game, Mets beat our Astros 7-6 in 16 and win NL pennant. Also in 86, MLB American League Championship, Boston Red Sox beat California Angels 4-3. Also in 86, MLB National League Championship, New York Mets beat Houston Astros 4-2. In 1987, NFL Players Association orders an end to the 24-day strike. Union fails to achieve demands short term with no collective bargaining agreement in place. In 1988, NCAA record rushing yardage, 768 yards, Oklahoma. Also in 88, with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, an injured Kirk Gibson hits dramatic 2-run home run to give Los Angeles Dodgers a 5-4 win over Oakland A's in first game of World Series. In 1989, there's the great one. Wayne Gretzky passes Gordie Howe as NHL's all-time top scorer. In 1995, Carolina Panthers win first game ever, beating the New York Jets 26-15. In 1997, MLB American League Championship, Cleveland Indians beat Baltimore Orioles 4-2. In 1997, New York jury awards boxer Mitch Green $45,000 in civil lawsuit against Mike Tyson for a street brawl in 1988. I'm wondering, did he bite his ear off like he did with Evander Holyfield? That's the million-dollar question I ponder. Anyway, moving on. In 2000, ICC Men's Cricket Knockout Trophy, Gymkhana Club, Narrabri, New Zealand wins their first international title with a 4-wicket win over India. Man of the match, Chris Cairns from New Zealand. In 2003, MLB National League Championship, Florida Marlins beat Chicago Cubs 4-3. In 2007, MLB National League Championship, Colorado Rockies beat Arizona Diamondbacks 4-0. In 2008, MLB National League Championship, Philadelphia Phillies beat Los Angeles Dodgers 4-1. In 2011, MLB American League Championship, Texas Rangers beat Detroit Tigers 4-2. In 2014, MLB American League Championship, Kansas City Royals beat Baltimore Orioles 4-0. In 2021, IPL Cricket Final, Dubai International Stadium, Chennai Super Kings win their first 4th IPL title, beating Kolkata Knight Riders by 27 runs. Faf du Plessis scored 86 59 balls for player of the match. Those are all the things that happened in the world of sports for October the 15th. And I do believe it is about that time for the main event of this very episode. Now, there have been a few times on the Rock Out Wild show where I go full therapy session and I talk in the past about all sorts of stuff. And I came across a website called helpguide.org. And this website goes over some steps about emotional and psychological trauma. So I think because we are in October and the seasons are starting to change. We're in fall, and fall will lead to winter, and sometimes our mood will swing in a not so good direction when it comes to bad weather. I know that sometimes happens to me as well. You know, winter is hard to get through, but I managed to toughen up, toughen up and suck it up. And I'll always think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because once winter is over, it leads to spring and then summer again, and it's a cycle. You know, it's the seasons that change, and because it is October and we are starting to get into those winter months later on, I think now is the perfect time to go over this article and this website. So what I'm going to do is present, share screen, and show you all this website that I found not too long ago. And it's called Emotional and Psychological Trauma. And it says here, when bad things happen, it can take a while to get over the pain and feel safe again. But with these self-help strategies and support, you can speed up your recovery. So it's kind of like a guide, so to speak, to for emotional healing. So let's get into this here. So what is emotional and psychological trauma? So this is a question that we start off with here. And it states emotional and psychological trauma occurs when extraordinary stressful events shatter your sense of security. I know that happened to me. Psychological trauma can leave you struggling with upsetting emotions, memories, and anxiety that won't go away. It could also leave you feeling numb, disconnected, and unable to trust other people. Now, with me, I do trust people. I do take them at face value and stuff, but sometimes I can be emotionally disconnected. And it all depends, again, with the seasons and how I'm feeling as well. Traumatic experiences often involve a threat to life or safety, which is true. But any situation that leaves you feeling overwhelmed and isolated can result in trauma, even if it doesn't involve physical harm. It's called emotional trauma. That's what it is. It's not the objective circumstances that determine whether an event is traumatic, but your subjective emotional experience of the event. The more frightened and helpless you feel, the more likely you are to be traumatized. And it goes into the differences between acute, complex, and secondary trauma. Now, trauma can be categorized as acute, complex, or secondary. It says here, acute trauma is a result of a single short-term incident that activates your body's stress response, such as a sudden car accident. Complex trauma is the result of repeated exposure to different types of traumatic events, such as growing up in a household where verbal abuse and psychological assaults occur regularly. I know that happens in a lot of households. I know that is a tough thing to get through, but the main thing is you are not alone. People go through similar situations that you do. Secondary trauma occurs when you experience distress after hearing about another person's horrific experience. For instance, a humanitarian aid worker might experience secondary trauma while helping survivors of a natural disaster or regional conflict. That is true. That is all true. Some causes of trauma. Emotional and psychological trauma can be caused by sudden horrific events, such as an accident, injury, sexual abuse, or a violent attack, especially if it was unexpected or happened in childhood. Long-term stressors, such as living in a crime-ridden neighborhood, battling a life-threatening illness, or experiencing traumatic events that occur repeatedly, such as bullying, domestic violence, or childhood neglect and emotional abuse. I mean, I think almost, maybe not every kid, but a lot of people do go through bullying at some stage in their life, whether it is in school or in college or in adulthood. It happens. Uh, Commonly overlooked causes such as surgery, especially in the first few years of life. The sudden death of someone close, absolutely. That is an overlooked cause of trauma, absolutely. The breakup of a significant relationship, I know that happened to me as well, or a humiliating or deeply disappointing experience. Sure, that happens. That happens to everyone. A fear of rejection. Say if you wanted to ask out the woman of your dreams on a date and you get rejected. Obviously, you're going to feel somewhat maybe either disappointed or whatever it is. You're going to feel what you are going to feel. And that is an overlooked cause and something that needs to be talked about a lot more when it comes to emotional trauma. Childhood trauma and the risks of future trauma is the next thing here. While traumatic events can happen to anyone, you're more likely to be traumatized by any events if you're already under a heavy stress load. Have recently suffered or have recently suffered a series of losses or have been traumatized before, especially if the earlier trauma occurred in childhood. Childhood trauma can result from anything that disrupts a child's sense of safety, including an unstable or unsafe environment, separation from a parent, and I'm one of them, a serious illness, intrusive medical procedures, sexual, physical, or verbal abuse, domestic violence, and neglect. Absolutely, those things are killers when it comes to emotional trauma, especially for a child. I mean, when someone is a child, the I don't know, it probably depends on the situation and the person, but the trauma really, really amps up when you are a child. It just seems that way. Experiencing trauma in childhood can result in a severe and long-lasting effect. And it's something that I'm going to pause it there. It's also something that carries over into adulthood, which I was just reading right there. When childhood trauma is not resolved, a sense of fear and helplessness carries over into adulthood, setting the stage for further trauma. However, even if your trauma happened many years ago, there are steps you can take to overcome the pain. Learn to trust and connect to others again and regain your sense of emotional balance. Symptoms of psychological trauma. We all react to trauma in different ways, experiencing a wide range of physical and emotional reactions. There is no right or wrong way to think, feel, or respond, so don't judge your own reactions or those of other people. That is, I want to emphasize and read that again. There is no right or wrong way to think, feel, or respond, so don't judge your own reactions or those of other people. Your responses are normal reactions to abnormal events. Emotional and before I continue on, I mean, some people say that people overreact, and I think that word needs to go away because after reading that, it says there your responses are normal reactions to abnormal events. So any reaction is considered normal. So there's really no such thing as overreacting because it's how you react. Even though some people will perceive it as overreacting, I think that word overreacting needs to be exterminated from the English dictionary. Emotional and psychological symptoms: shock, denial or disbelief, confusion, difficulty concentrating. I am guilty of difficulty concentrating every now and then, only if I feel like I'm rushed, if I don't take my time. That's when I have difficulty concentrating. Uh, Anger, irritability, mood swings, especially with people that are diagnosed with bipolar. Mood swings are a big thing as well. Anxiety and fear, guilt, shame, self blame. I am, no pun intended, guilty of those things there. Withdrawing from others, feeling sad or hopeless, and feeling disconnected or numb. And yeah, those are major symptoms when it comes to emotional and psychological trauma. Absolutely. And then we can get into some physical symptoms here, like insomnia or nightmares. It's a rarity for me to have nightmares, but it'll happen every now and then. Fatigue, being startled easily. I'm glad I don't startle easily. No, that's one thing I'm glad I don't startle easily. Difficulty concentrating. Again, if I feel rushed, racing heartbeat. It'll happen every now and then. Edginess and agitation, aches and pains, and muscle tension. A lot of physical symptoms, and you could probably go on even further than that too. Impact on mental health and well-being. Here we go. Here are some of the. Now we're going to dive right into the, the deep stuff that's not surface level at all. So the symptoms listed above can weigh on your mental health and sense of well-being. For instance, the residual guilt and shame can wear down your self-esteem. Or maybe you spend time wondering why you can't just be normal or have appropriate emotional responses. Perhaps you feel isolated and wonder if you're the only person who feels the way you do. In your daily life, you might avoid people and places that once brought you joy because now they make you feel tense and on edge. Research shows that mental health conditions such as depression can develop following traumatic experiences. Effects of trauma. The effects of trauma can follow you throughout your life, especially if you don't seek help from a mental health professional. Here are some of the ways that trauma can disrupt your psychological and physical well-being, as well as your relationships. Long after a traumatic incident, you might experience cognitive issues, such as intrusive thoughts, nightmares, and memories about the event. You might struggle with flashbacks that feel so real that it's as if the event is happening all over again. Trauma can also affect your perception of yourself and the world around you. For instance, after being attacked by a dog, you might suddenly find all animals to be threatening. Or after a car accident, you might feel terrified of driving the vehicle. In these situations, your sense of safety is disrupted, and now you feel hyper vigilant around anything that reminds you of that traumatic event. And then again, it gets into some physical effects of trauma. Trauma affects more than just your mind. It could also have long-term physical consequences. It can keep your body's stress response activated for long periods of time, which can result in issues like high blood pressure. Some people turn to physically unhealthy coping mechanisms after a traumatic event. For instance, you might use drugs or alcohol to calm your nerves. However, self-medicating can lead to further health complications. And because trauma can affect your sleep patterns and appetite, it can have other cascading effects on your physical health. Maybe you consistently feel fatigue after a sleepless night or a lack of proper nutrition. I mean, I am guilty of not getting enough sleep when I need to, but I do make up for it later on. Like say for example, I'll sleep a few hours on the weekday, but I'll sleep longer on the weekend. Effects of trauma on relationships. If trauma is related to betrayal by a trusted person, such as a domestic abuse thing going on, you might develop a sense of hypervigilance towards other people. Maybe you go through life experiencing everyone you meet to hurt you, so you develop a habit of pushing them away first. Although this is a self-protective strategy, and can keep you from connecting with people and seeking support. Now, I'm the opposite here. And I'll just leave it at that. Even if trauma resulted from events like natural disaster or an accident, you might self-isolate as a way to cope with your anxiety. And then it gets into how children react to emotional and psychological trauma. Some common reactions to trauma in ways to help your child deal with them. Regression. Many children need to return to an earlier stage when they feel safer. Younger children may wet their bed or want a bottle. I've wet my bed in the past when I was a kid. That happened. Older children may fear being alone. I don't mind being alone. It's important to be understanding, patient, and comforting if your child responds this way. Thinking the event is their fault, which is not. Children younger than 8 tend to think that if something goes wrong, it must be their fault. Be sure your child understands that he or she did not cause the event. Sleep disorders. Some children have difficulty falling asleep. Others wake frequently or have troubling dreams. Give your child a stuffed animal, soft blanket, or flashlight to take to bed. Try spending extra time together in the evening, doing quiet activities or reading. And be patient. It might take a while before your child can sleep through the night again. Feeling helpless. Being active in a campaign to prevent an event from happening again. Writing thank you letters to people who have helped and caring for others can bring a sense of hope and control to everyone in the family. To help a child recover from trauma, it's important to communicate openly. Let them know that it's normal to feel scared or upset. Your child may also look to you for cues on how they should respond to trauma. So let them see you dealing with symptoms in a positive way. I mean, that's how they learn. Healing from trauma. Trauma symptoms typically last from a few days to a few months, gradually fading as you process the unsettling events. Sometimes it may not ever go away. But even when you're feeling better, you may be troubled from time to time by painful memories or emotions, especially in response to triggers such as an anniversary of the event or something that reminds you of the trauma. The anniversary, yeah. I can relate to that. If your psychological trauma symptoms don't ease up, or if they become even worse and you find that you're unable to move on from the events for a prolonged period of time, you may be experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, obviously. A lot of people that come back from the war, I know, go through PTSD because it is so traumatic. And while emotional trauma is a normal response to a disturbing event, it becomes PTSD when your nervous system gets stuck and you remain in psychological shock, unable to make sense of what happened or process your emotions. Whether or not a traumatic event involves death, you as a survivor must cope with the loss, at least temporarily, of your sense of safety. The natural reaction to the loss is grief. Like people who have lost a loved one, you need to go through a grieving process. The following tips can help you cope with the sense of grief, heal from trauma, and move on with your life. That'll be a future topic for a future Rocket Waltz show, the grieving process. I will definitely look into that later on. Trauma recovery tip 1, get moving. Trauma disrupts your body's natural equilibrium, freezing you in a state of hyperarousal and fear. As well as burning off adrenaline and releasing endorphins, exercise and movement can help repair your nervous system. That's pretty much self-explanatory. In the sense, try to exercise for 30 minutes or more on most days, or if it's easier, 3 10-minute spurts of exercise per day are just as good. Exercise that is rhythmic and engages both your arms and legs, such as walking, running, swimming, basketball, or even dancing, works best. Add a mindful element. Instead of focusing on your thoughts or distracting yourself while you exercise, really focus on your body and how it feels as you move. Notice the sensation of your feet hitting the ground, for example, or the rhythm of your breathing, or the feeling of wind on your skin. Rock climbing, boxing, weight training, or martial arts can make this easier. After all, you need to focus on your body movements during these activities in order to avoid injury. Also, stretch before your workout. That's something I usually try to do as well. Tip number two, don't isolate. Following a trauma, you may want to withdraw from others, but isolation only makes things worse. Connecting to others face to face will help you heal. So make an effort to maintain your relationships and avoid spending too much time alone. You don't have to talk about the trauma. Connecting with others doesn't have to involve talking about the trauma or what happened to you. In fact, for some people, that could just make things worse. Comfort comes from feeling engaged and accepted by others. As for support, while you don't have to talk about the trauma itself, it is important that you have someone to share your feelings with face to face. Someone who is willing, who will listen attentively without judging you. Turn to a trusted family member, friend, counselor, or clergyman. Participate in social activities, even if you don't feel like it. Do normal activities with other people, activities that have nothing to do with traumatic experiences. Reconnect with old friends. If you've retreated from relationships that were once important to you, make the effort to reconnect. Join a support group for trauma survivors. Connecting with others who are facing the same problems can help reduce their sense of isolation, and hearing how others cope can help inspire you in your own recovery. Volunteer. As well as helping others, volunteering can be a great way to challenge the sense of helplessness that often accompanies trauma. Remind yourself of your strengths and reclaim your sense of power by helping others. Make new friends. If you live alone or far from family and friends, it is important to reach out and make new friends. That is something that I sort of done online as well. Take a class or join a club to meet people with similar interests, connect to an Illuminati association, or reach out to neighbors or work colleagues. And if connecting to others is difficult, many people who have experienced trauma feel disconnected, withdrawn, and find it difficult to connect with other people. If that describes you, there are some actions you can take before you next meet with a friend. Exercise or move. Jump up and down, swing your arms and legs, or just flail around. Your head will feel clearer and you'll find it easier to connect. Vocal toning. As the way I'm speaking right now, I'm sitting down and I'm speaking to everyone that is watching and listening to episode 42 of The Rock on Wild Show. As strange as it sounds, vocal toning is a great way to open up to social engagement. Sit up straight and simply make sounds. Change the pitch and volume until you experience a pleasant vibration in your face. I know that is happening to me as I am talking. Tip number 3, self-regulate your nervous system. No matter how agitated, anxious, or out of control you feel, it's important to know that you can change your arousal system and calm yourself. Not only will it help relieve the anxiety associated with trauma, but it will also engender a greater sense of control. Mindful breathing. If you are feeling disoriented, confused, or upset, practicing mindful breathing is a quick way to calm yourself. Simply take 60 breaths, focusing your attention on each out breath. Sensory input. Does a specific sight, smell, or taste quickly make you feel calm? Or maybe petting an animal or listening to music works to quickly soothe you. I know listening to music works for me. Even listening to podcasts also works for me too. Everyone responds to sensory input a little differently, so experiment with different quick stress release techniques, which is something I could talk about for a future episode as well, to find out what works best for you. Also, staying grounded. To feel in the present and more grounded, sit on a chair. Feel your feet on the ground and your back against the chair. Look around you and pick 6 objects that have red or blue in them. Notice how your breathing gets deeper and calmer. Allow yourself to feel what you feel when you feel it. Acknowledge your feelings about the trauma as they arise and accept them. Help Guide's Emotional Intelligence Toolkit can help. Tip number 4, take care of your health. It's true. Having a healthy body can increase your ability to cope with the stress of trauma. Get plenty of sleep. I talked about sleep earlier. After a traumatic experience, worry or fear may disturb your sleep patterns. But a lack of quality sleep can exacerbate your trauma symptoms and make it harder to maintain your emotional balance. Go to sleep and get up the same time each day and aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Avoid alcohol and drugs. Their use can worsen your trauma symptoms and increase feelings of depression, anxiety, and isolation. Eat a well-balanced diet. Eating small, well-balanced meals throughout the day will help you keep your energy up and minimize mood swings. Avoid sugary and fried foods and eat plenty of omega-3 fats such as salmon, walnuts, soybeans, and flax seeds to give your mood a boost. Reduce stress. Try relaxation techniques such as meditation, yoga, or deep breathing exercises. Schedule time for activities that bring you joy, such as your favorite hobbies. When to seek professional treatment for trauma. Recovering from trauma takes time, and everyone heals at their own pace. But if months have passed and your symptoms aren't letting up, you may need professional help from a trauma expert. There are online therapists and online psychiatrists that may fit your needs. Seek help for trauma if you're having trouble functioning at home or work, suffering from severe fear, anxiety, or depression, unable to form close, satisfying relationships, experiencing terrifying memories, nightmares, or flashbacks, avoiding more and more anything that reminds you of the trauma, emotionally numb and disconnected from others, and using alcohol or drugs to feel better. Working through trauma can be scary, painful, and potentially re-traumatizing. So this healing work it's best undertaken with the help of an experienced trauma specialist. Finding the right therapist may take some time. It's very important that the therapist you choose has the experience treating trauma. But the quality of the relationship with your therapist is equally important. Choose a trauma specialist you feel comfortable with. If you don't feel safe, respected, or understood, find another therapist. Ask yourself, did you feel comfortable discussing your problems with the therapist? Did you feel like the therapist understood what you were talking about? Were your concerns taken seriously, or were they minimized or dismissed? Were you treated with compassion and respect? And do you believe that you could grow to trust a therapist? Trauma therapy. In order to heal from psychological and emotional trauma, you'll need to resolve the unpleasant feelings and memories you've long avoided, discharge pent-up fight or flight energy, learn to regulate strong emotions, and rebuild your ability to trust other people. A trauma specialist may use a variety of different therapy approaches in your treatment. Somatic experiencing focuses on bodily sensations rather than thoughts and memories about the traumatic event. By concentrating on what's happening in your body, You can release pent-up trauma-related energy through shaking, crying, and other forms of physical release. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps you process and evaluate your thoughts and feelings about a trauma. Some online therapy services offer cognitive behavior therapy. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, incorporates elements of cognitive behavior therapy with eye movements or other forms of rhythmic left-right stimulation that can unfreeze traumatic memories. Helping a loved one deal with trauma. When a loved one has suffered trauma, your support can play a crucial role in their recovery. Be patient and understanding. Healing from trauma takes time. Be patient with the pace of recovery and remember that everyone's response to trauma is different. Don't judge your loved one's reaction against your own responses or anyone else's. Offer practical support to help your loved one get back into a normal routine. That may mean helping with collecting groceries or doing housework, for example, or simply being available to talk or listen. Don't pressure your loved one into talking, but be available if they want to talk. Some trauma survivors find it difficult to talk about what happened. Don't force your loved one to open up, but let them know you are there to listen if they wanted to talk, or available to just hang out if they don't. Help your loved ones to socialize and relax. Encourage them to participate in physical exercise, seek out friends and pursue hobbies and other activities that bring them pleasure. Take a fitness class together or set a regular lunch date with friends. And don't take the trauma symptoms personally. Your loved one may become angry, irritable, withdrawn, or emotionally distant. Remember that this is a result of the trauma and may not have anything to do with you or your relationship. Coping with the trauma of a natural or man-made disaster can prevent unique challenges, even if you were directly involved in the event. In fact, while it's highly unlikely any of us will ever be the direct victims of a terrorist attack, plane crash, or mass shooting, for example, we're all regularly bombarded by horrific images on social media and news sources of those people who have been. Viewing these images over and over can overwhelm your nervous system and create traumatic stress. Whatever the cause of your trauma and whether it happened years ago or yesterday, you can make healing changes and move on with your life. And that is the article in the website that I found a few days ago called helpguide.org, where it talks about emotional and psychological trauma. And this has been, that was the main event for episode 42 of the Rock Out Wild Show, and this has been the entire show. I'm going to leave you all with a quote, and it goes something like this. You have the power to choose who you allow into your life. Surround yourself with positivity and kindness. Setting boundaries is an act of self-love. It's essential to protect your energy from those who drain it. Remember, your well-being comes first. Stay strong and assert your worth. You deserve genuine, healthy connections that uplift and support you. Trust your instincts and distance yourself from toxic individuals. Your peace of mind is invaluable. Embrace a life filled with respect, love, and mutual understanding. You are worthy of genuine relationships that nourish your soul. I am your host, Just Mike, and this has been episode number 42 of the Rock Out Wild Show. On a final note to all of you watching and listening to this all around the world, get plenty of rest and always do your best.